The city isn't a caterpillar. It doesn't spin a cocoon and wake up a butterfly. Ah, look who finally reached the front of the line. You didn't know you were in one. That's the thing about this particular line. There's no rope, no sign, no little machine by the door that spits out a paper number. You've just been standing in it for years, holding the truth in one hand and a nervous system that won't stop replaying the footage in the other. Watching the people who hurt you walk off whistling and thinking there was no order to any of it. No desk, no clerk, no queue, just a world that let them win. There was always a queue. You were just too deep inside your own patience to see the shape of it. 3 nights ago, in an office with no address, in a building that isn't on any map, on a floor that doesn't officially exist, a light changed. A small one. I chose my path. You chose the way of the hero. And they found you amusing for a while. Amber to green, the kind of thing nobody notices. And a number came up on a board that no living person is permitted to look at directly. And the number was yours, not your name. The universe does names later once the paperwork clears. It does numbers first. And your number just got called. Welcome to the front of the line, you patient, terrifying, gloriously unpaid creditor. Let me explain what you've been standing in. Here's what the people who hurt you believe. They believe the world is chaos. They believe it's noise, luck, timing. Whoever grabs the most while the grabbing is good. They believe that if there's no policeman in the room, there's no consequence in the room. They built their entire lives on that belief. Stranger. They stepped on you because the math looked clean. No witnesses with power, no cost. They could see a person too dignified to retaliate is to them a free lunch, and they ate. What they don't understand, what they will never understand until the day their number comes up on a board they also aren't allowed to see, is that the universe is not chaos. The universe is a bureaucracy. Slow, patient, immaculately organized. It keeps records that don't burn. It runs on a system so old that the oldest gods were interns when it was installed, and it has one department. One single, quiet department, with a light that no one visits, whose entire function is this. It processes what was done to people who did nothing back. That's you. When the chips are down and these civilized people, they'll eat each other. That's your file. That's the department that just called your number. Let me tell you how it actually works. Because you've been misinformed your whole life. You are told karma is fast. It isn't. You are told the universe punishes. It doesn't. Not exactly. It doesn't punish. It reconciles. It's an accountant, not an executioner. It doesn't storm in with fire. It sits and it tallies and it waits for the ledger to close. And then without drama, without warning, without so much as clearing its throat, it settles every account at once. And here is the detail that will change how you breathe. You never filed the complaint. You thought you had to. You thought that was the deal. That if you didn't screen, didn't post, didn't expose them, your ally, or you merely adopted the dark, I was born in it. Didn't drag your evidence into the daylight and beg a jury of onlookers to believe you, then nothing would happen and they'd get away clean. So you carried it. You rehearsed the confrontation in the shower. You wrote the message and deleted it. You imagined the day they'd finally understand. And you felt like a coward every time you chose to stay quiet instead. You weren't a coward. You were generating tickets. Every single one of them automatically. That's the part no one tells you. This department doesn't wait for you to file. It can't. Half the people it serves die before they'd ever have the strength to. So, it filed for you. The moment someone did something to a person who wouldn't retaliate, a ticket generated itself silently in an office you'll never see, with a timestamp more accurate than any court's. No one cared who I was till I put on the mask. If I pull that off, will you die? It logged the thing they did and the thing they said afterward to cover it in the exact shape of the wound, and it stamped it and it dropped it into a queue, and it did that every single time for years without your permission and without your knowledge. Do you understand what this means? Every wrong you let pass, every insult you absorbed, every time you chose the high road and hated yourself a little for it, every quiet swallow of an injustice you could have made loud. You weren't letting them off. You were building a case file so thick it needs a cart to move it. And you didn't have to lift a finger. Your restraint did the filing. Now let me tell you why your number came up now, and not sooner and not later. Because this is where it gets strange. This department has a priority system, and it runs backwards from everything you'd expect. You should have gone for the head. You'd think the loudest complaints get processed first. The opposite is true when you retaliate, when you chase, when you expose. When you take the revenge into your own hands, you contaminate the ticket. You put your fingerprints on it, and a contaminated ticket goes to the back. It has to be cleaned first, sorted from your interference, and that takes ages, sometimes lifetimes. It gets tangled, it gets messy, it stalls. But a clean ticket, one where you did nothing, said nothing, chased nothing, one filed in pure silence by a person who simply walked away and kept living. A clean ticket is expedited, it's flagged, it moves, must feel good. It's about 2 billion people all over the world that looks like us, but their lives are a lot harder. It floats to the top of the pile like something too pure to sink. Your silence didn't lose you the case. Your silence is why you're at the front of the line. You've been quietly earning priority this entire time, and you thought you were losing. Meanwhile, and this is the part I've been waiting to tell you. Meanwhile, your enemies have been pulling numbers of their own. They don't know it. That's the beauty. Every single time they wronged someone and got away with it, they took a number too. But their number doesn't count down toward being served. It counts up. It climbs. Because in this department, doing harm doesn't move you toward the front. It buries you deeper in the queue. They think each thing they get away with is a win. It isn't. It's another ticket stapled to their file. Another rung down. You believe that? Kid from Oakland running around believing in fairy tale. Another year added to a weight they can feel but cannot name. That's what that low humming dread is. The one they carry and can't explain. The one they drink to quiet. That's their number. Climbing. Let me walk you through the tickets in your file. Let me show you the queue. There's the friend. The one who knew everything. Who held your secrets like they were sacred and then sold them the moment it became socially profitable. You never confronted her. You just went quiet and disappeared from her life so gently. She probably told people you drifted. Ticket generated. Clean filed. She thinks she's forgotten it. She hasn't. Her file just doesn't tell her that. But some nights, for no reason she can point to, She thinks of your name and something in her stomach drops, and she doesn't know why. That's the ticket reminding her it exists. There's the one who was supposed to love you, who studied your softest places specifically so they'd know where to press, who made you doubt your own memory, your own eyes, your own mind. You didn't burn their house down. You didn't ruin them online. You left with your dignity mostly intact, and you rebuilt yourself somewhere they'd never think to look. Ticket generated, clean, expedited. And here's the thing about that one. They'll meet someone eventually who does to them exactly what they did to you. And they won't see it coming because predators never believe they can be prey. That's not a coincidence. That's the ticket being processed. There's the family, the blood that was supposed to be the one thing that never turned on you and turned first and turned hardest and dressed it up as love the whole time. Done. It always will be inevitable. You didn't scorch the earth. You set a boundary so quiet it looked like distance. Ticket generated. And that one's complicated. That one's got a long processing time because family tickets always do. But it's in the queue. It doesn't expire. There's the coworker who took your idea into a room you weren't allowed in and came out with your future in their mouth. There's the group that decided over a single afternoon in a single group chat that you were the villain of a story you weren't even in. There's the stranger who felt safe hurting you because you look like someone who wouldn't fight back. Ticket, ticket, ticket. All of them. Clean, filed, climbing to the top while their authors sink. You want to know what the office looks like, don't you? Let me tell you about the clerk. There's no fury in this office. That's the first thing that would surprise you. You've imagined an avenging angel, a sword, a storm. It's not that. It's a desk. It's a clerk who has been doing this job since before the concept of time was finalized and who is neither cruel nor kind, only thorough. This clerk cannot be bribed, cannot be charmed, cannot be talked out of it, lied to, flattered, or rushed. Every trick your enemies used on you, the crocodile tears, the refrain, the sudden warmth, the way they could make themselves the victim in real time. None of it works here. The clerk has heard every excuse ever manufactured by a guilty mouth and has been unmoved by all of them. They will make their case. The clerk will not look up, and the clerk never ever loses a file. That's the part that should let you sleep tonight. Everywhere else, evidence gets lost. The animal world. When an animal wants something, when it needs something, other things need to be stepped on. Witnesses forget, cameras fail, statutes run out. Everywhere else, if you wait too long, the window closes. Not here. This office has no statute of limitations. The window does not close. Time, which erodes every earthly case, only strengthens this one. Your enemies have been counting on the window closing. They've been running out the clock, telling themselves that enough years buries anything in this office. Years don't bury. Years file. Years thicken. Years compound like the cruelest interest, and the account only grows. Now some of them try to jump the line. You should know that some of them, once the dread gets loud enough, feel the queue moving under them in panic, and they come back not to repair anything, to skip. They send the text 3 years too late. They post the vague apology no one asked for. They show up to the reunion suddenly warm, suddenly humble, suddenly telling anyone who will listen how much they've grown. They stage a redemption, They perform the arc and they genuinely think that the performance will void the ticket, that a well-timed sorry is a coupon. The clerk has seen this move 1,000,000,000 times. It doesn't work. And here's the reason it doesn't work, and it's important because it's the one loophole that's actually real. A ticket can be voided. There is exactly one way. Genuine repair. Real, costly, unwitnessed repair. The kind where they make it right when there's nothing in it for them, when no audience is watching, when it costs them something they can't get back and they pay it anyway, quietly expecting nothing. That voids a ticket that the clerk honors every single time without hesitation. The system was never built for cruelty, it was built for balance. And a genuinely balanced account gets closed clean. No withdrawal, no penalty. The file marked settled by the only currency this office accepts. But performance, a public apology engineered to launder a reputation, a sorry that's really a request for you to carry the discomfort so they don't have to, the clerk doesn't even look up. That's not a payment, that's a forgery, and forgery doesn't void the ticket, it staples a new one on top, because now they've done the thing twice, hurt you once, and then tried to con the universe into calling it even. So watch as this all unfolds for the ones who suddenly get spiritual, who suddenly get soft. Build a prison of stone and steel. But you merely present the prisoner with a challenge, screaming, who suddenly want you to know how sorry they are the moment they sense the weather turning. That's not growth. That's a debtor at the window out of time, trying to pay a real debt with the drawing of money. And the clerk who has never once been fooled slides it back across the desk and calls the next number. Now, I want to say something to the part of you that heard all this and immediately started to worry. I know that even now, even hearing that the ledger is closing in your favor, some part of you feels a flicker of guilt for wanting it. Some part of you was trained to believe that wishing for justice makes you as bad as the ones who wronged you. That the good thing, the pure thing, would be to forgive completely and want nothing. Let me relieve you of that. You are not the one settling this account. That's the whole point. You are not the executioner, the judge, or the storm. You handed it over. You did the most spiritually advanced thing a wounded person can do. You refused to become the wound. You declined the poison. You put it down and you walked away, and you let the department that was built for exactly this handle exactly this. Wanting the account settled isn't cruelty, it's trust. You trusted that the universe keeps books. And you were right. And here's the thing about the settlement. The thing that separates it from the petty revenge your enemies are afraid of. It won't look like fireworks. That's not how this office operates. It won't be a viral downfall you get to screenshot. It'll be quieter and far more total than that. It'll be the slow discovery spread over years that nothing they build holds. That every room they enter has a draft in it they can't locate. That trust keeps curdling in their hands for reasons they can never quite trace. That the very charm that let them hurt you stops working one person at a time until they're standing in a life full of people who smile at them and privately count the exits. It won't be a bang. It'll be a slow, itemized, immaculately fair unraveling. A settlement paid not all at once, but in withdrawals so steady they'll never see the account draining until it's empty. And you won't even be watching. That's the most beautiful part. You'll be somewhere else entirely. You'll have moved on so completely that when you finally hear secondhand years later that it all came apart for them, you'll feel almost nothing. A distant nod, a closing of a book you stopped reading a long time ago, because by then you'll have built something they can't touch. The people need to be reminded that the city belongs to me, in a life they don't have the coordinates for, and their downfall will be at most a piece of weather happening in a country you no longer live in. They're refreshing the status page right now, by the way. Not literally. There is no page, but that's the sensation, that low-grade compulsion, that itch, that reaching for something to check that will tell them everything's fine. They keep looking over their shoulder at a board they can feel but cannot see. They keep getting the phantom sense that their number is coming up, and they keep telling themselves they're being paranoid. They're not being paranoid. Paranoia is fear of a threat that isn't there. This one's there. It's just been cued. You want to know what the worst part is for them? It's not the settlement. They could almost brace for a settlement. The worst part is the not knowing when. The universe never sends a warning. It doesn't do notice periods. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say your number's next. The clerk, just one ordinary Tuesday with no fanfare, with the same bored throttles they've had since the beginning, pulls the next file, glances at the number, and begins. And your enemies will be in the middle of something completely mundane. A meeting, a meal, a moment they thought was safe when the first withdrawal posts. And they'll have no idea that the account just opened, or that it was ever open, or that a person they barely remember stepping on filed the very first ticket without ever saying a word. Let me tell you the last thing, the thing to take with you. Your job was never to collect. You've been trying to collect for years, and it's been eating you. Let's put a smile on that face, because collecting isn't your job. And your soul knows it. And that's why it never felt right in your hands. Your job was to file, and you did perfectly, silently, without even knowing you were doing it. You filed by surviving. You filed by not becoming them. You filed by choosing over and over in rooms where no one clapped to keep your hands clean and your dignity intact and your revenge undrawn. Every act of restraint you ever hated yourself for was a document entering the record. You built the most complete, most airtight, most beautifully clean case file this office has seen in a generation. And you built it out of nothing but the refusal to strike back. So put it down now, all the way down. The confrontation you keep rehearsing, the exposure you keep planning, the day of understanding you keep waiting for. You don't need it. It's handled. It's been handled since the first ticket generated itself in the dark. And it's only gotten more handled every year you chose peace over payback. The account is closing. Your number came up, and the clerk, who has never lost a file and never will, just slid yours to the top of the pile and reached for the first page. You don't have to watch. You don't have to wait by the window. You don't have to check the board. You just have to keep living the clean, unbothered, quietly devastating life you're building. The one they'll never find the address to. And let the department do the one thing it was built since before the beginning to do. They took a number the day they decided you were safe to hurt. They just didn't read the fine print. The number goes up and yours just got